And hello, everybody. Welcome back to Edric, Poon and Company, the podcast where anybody can inspire everybody. So I'm your host, Edric, and joining us this week is my very good friend. Now, he's known as Coach Shrek to many of you. To be honest, I still don't know why he's called Shrek, but he'll probably tell me in a bit. But now, Shrek is the master trainer over at Ritual Gym. Ritual is an amazing gym that provides daily workouts that are based on high intensity interval training, or HIIT. They also provide personalized training, which is amazing. Now, in addition, they've got locations over in Brazil, Spain, Switzerland, USA, and of course, here in Singapore. Now, Ismail and I, I've known him as Ismail. You guys will know him as Shrek. So he and I were trainees in the army together. And since then, he's always been into sports and fitness. One thing I've always loved about his mindset was that his entire passion into fitness and being so interested in just bettering himself and growing from strength to strength in this particular business, right? Literally and metaphorically, of course. Now, I really believe that when we acknowledge, our strengths, we feed our passions and we act on them, this is where we'll really make an impact together, just like Shrek himself. So, without further ado, let's get on to the podcast.
The last time actually we met was basically during our cadet days, right?
No, actually, we that was the last time we hung out. But actually,
Yeah.
the last time we met was when you were still doing certain programs at Void Decks, at the small little multipurpose hall over at St. George's. That was where I was that time around.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was quite a while back. Ever since then, we've always been in touch.
Yes.
The interesting thing was, as we got along, in this entire journey, even though we haven't really spoken that often, it still feels as though nothing has changed. Nothing about you has changed, except for the facial hair.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. So in your case, right, one thing that I've always, again, in the intro, I did mention it, I've always been a fan of your passion, toward driving fitness. And not only that, one thing I didn't mention was your willingness to share your wisdom, to share that love for self-improvement, to better yourself every day. And that's something that's always left an impression on me, and it's been great just being able to see you express yourself through social media, through your workouts, and even through some of the interviews you've done with some media as well. And for those who do not know, all right, now Ismail here, or Shrek, as he's been known as since 2008, right?
Yeah. That's right.
Now, check out his Instagram, Shrek of Ritual. Okay, now his Instagram has so many different simple workouts that you can use, be it whether it's body weight or with, of course, his two favorite cannonballs that he always carries around, his two kettlebells that he has. I've got a couple myself, and there are a couple of things that I've been following you, the knees over toes kind of thing. I don't have a slant board, but, thank you to the knees over toes guy for doing this. That
Very
guy's
much.
super awesome.
He is,
So,
man. He is.
Hey, by the way, for your side, right, over at Ritual, now, business has been very challenging ever since COVID and all this, but you've taken to outdoor, you've still conducted classes, and Ritual even has the Ritual app as well. So
That's right.
basically, there's very little excuse to say that there's no more training, there's no more, exercise and all this. For you, right, how in the world did you start off from us leaving the army, right, all the way? Now, in the army, it's funny, you were actually posted to an obese company, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But you weren't obese.
Yeah. I mean, that's how the system has always been, right? They always base you on your BMI. So, I mean, I won't say it's a flaw because it's just a basic way of gauging. So, I mean, I'm not going to say that I wasn't obese, but yeah, I was big, fluffy, or whatever you want to call it back then. Yeah,
Dude, you were swole.
that was actually, to be honest, that was the beginning of where I started into fitness. If I were to go way back, I mean, if you were to ask me, like, when did I first step into a gym? If I can remember clearly, it is at the age of 15. Yeah, so that was the
Club Fit,
first. Yes, that's right. That's right. Everybody starts from there, bro. Our generation,
Alright.
I would say, at least our generation. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
$2 an entry. How can you say no?
That's right.
Yeah, then from
Yes.
there, all of a sudden you just got hooked on. I mean, were you inspired by bodybuilding? What was it that inspired you?
Okay, so when we left the army, I didn't actually go straight into the fitness industry. So what I was actually doing security work. So security from doing scouting celebrities and looking after events and stuff. So, but at the same time, because like doing job was required to sort of look presentable, meaning like look scary enough to ensure security. So, I mean, all those times, I mean, obviously, I spend quite a bit of time on my free time basically inside the gym. So, and at the same time, that was also where a few of my friends, like close buddies, saying like, hey, dude, take me to the gym. Right? It's like, I do not know what to do. To be honest, I was still learning myself, but obviously looking slightly much bigger than them. I mean, that was what everybody in our generation, they just want to look like big, massive. And yeah, so I continue doing that, and then I start bringing some of these friends and help them out with their training. And then one of them actually mentioned this to me, saying, "It's like, dude, why don't you take this up as a career?" So I know there's this thing as personal trainer. I mean, there was back then there was California Fitness, Planet Fitness, all those big commercial global gyms, right? So
Yep.
I did hear about the culture in that, which actually the very first thing when I hear was it's very sales driven. So that actually makes me a bit hesitant. Like I'm not so sure if I want to do this if it requires me to do sales and talking a lot of people. And me being back then, I'm not as like open as I am right now, where I can talk to people, random people and stuff. Back then I was just like staying in my own cave, don't want to talk to anybody. It's just my own groups of friends. So knowing that what I'm required to do in fitness, I was actually a bit hesitant. But then eventually I just find that I really enjoy training my friend. So starting like some of them having difficulties in doing movements like pull-ups and stuff, I kind of help them achieve that. And then some of them wanting to lose some weight, and then some of them wanting to put on some weight. So I was able to do that even before I was doing fitness, or even before I entered the fitness industry. And I just realized how much I actually enjoy the idea of teaching and coaching someone. Yeah, so with that, that was where I just decided that okay lah, I'm just gonna take the plunge. So first company I actually worked for is California Fitness. Yeah, so that was way back in 2007. Yeah. So going into California Fitness, yep, I did have a fair share of like the things that I really enjoy and the things that I don't enjoy so much. But I believe being in that company, it was really a stepping stone for me. And then I do realize that the moment I got my very first client, and then from the weeks onward, I start getting more clients and more clients, and then I just realized that I enjoy this to a point where I was actually doing like up to 11 clients a day. So that's about 11 hours of back-to-back personal training. Yeah, and I mean, yes, at the end of the day, I do feel exhausted. I'm not going to say that I don't feel exhausted at all, but I really enjoy it. So that was where I said that I have to take this a bit more serious. So I have to probably upgrade myself. So I mean, bear in mind, like I said, I was doing mechanical engineering in school. So I have no background in fitness and stuff. So, but at that period, during the first year, I know myself that this is something I will do for a very long time. Yeah, and then so from there onwards, that's where I start planning all my steps of how I want to actually grow from here and what are the steps I need to do, like taking up courses, doing some studies and stuff.
You see, again, it's so wonderful to hear the act of service here, in the sense that we're doing it not because of the money, we're doing it because of a certain passion and a willingness to serve. to be able to see someone get better and better and better, right? And that service, right? That service culture, I would say, right, is really what makes that big difference, right? There are some trainers out there. I'm sure that we're all doing it. There are some days you wake up and it's like, okay, this client, I'm just the money is there, so we'll just take it.
Yeah.
But the difference, I think, between some of the personal trainers versus like what you're doing right now as a master coach in that sense is really to kick someone's ass to make sure that they do better for themselves. And it is part of your responsibility to make sure that they're driven to the next stage, of getting better and better and better. When we were actually talking about like doing this podcast together, we were having this open discussion about what's next, for you, what's interesting about the fitness industry, and why is it that there are people who quit. So we'll get into that in a little bit lah. But from your story now, from the road, that you started off as a personal trainer and now becoming a master coach. Now there's one question that we need to address. 2008. Why do people call you Shrek again?
Okay, so when I entered the industry, that's in 2007, right? So 2008 was the year that I actually did my very first bodybuilding competition. Yeah, so doing bodybuilding. So when people look at me now, right, some people will still say, dude, you are huge, man. But I will always tell them, it's like, no, actually, I'm not big anymore. I used to be bigger. Yeah, so like currently, I'm probably usually walking around maybe about 85 to 90 kg. But back then, I was walking at about 105, 110 kg.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, so those were the days where I was very actively doing bodybuilding shows. So, huge guy, right? Super huge guy. Very scary looking. But actually, if you all know me, I mean, if you know me in the past, I'm not as scary as I look. I'm actually quite comical. So, that was where one day my best man actually, he came up to me and said, dude, I got a new name for you. I'm going to call you Shrek from now. Would you want to call me that? It's like, you cannot be hard. You're not, I mean, you don't scare the shit out of me. I was like, okay, fair enough. At first I was annoyed by that. To be honest, I was annoyed by that. It's like Shrek, cartoon, not intimidating at all. So, but then I just realized like, hey, but that name, I mean, it's easy to remember, right? Yeah, so I was like, yeah, I'm just going to embrace this name. So it stuck with me, basically.
Okay, that's the thing about nicknames. You can't give yourself a nickname. Other people give it to you, then it makes sense, right? I mean, if you called yourself Shrek, I think there's no credibility anymore.
That's true.
Anyway, so now how does one become a master coach? You've come a long way already. Is it because of based on experience, or the fact that there's a scientific background and a certain, I don't know, is there an academic requirement for you to become a master coach? How does it work?
Honestly, I don't think. I mean, honestly, for me, I look at this as just a term that is given by my company. Yeah, reason is because the things that I do for the company. Yeah, but in terms of if anybody wants that title of being called a master trainer or master coach out there, I'm sure there's various ways to work towards it. But generally for me, I'm given this name or given this position because of the work that I do in the company. So aside from coaching, I mean, I still do coach on the ground itself myself. So aside from coaching, I take care of the fitness department. So in total, I have currently about 30 coaches under me. So my job is to ensure that all these guys stays up to date with what we practice inside the gym. So from day to day, you can expect me like, aside from being at a particular gym, I might be moving around as well, just to ensure that the coaches are well equipped with the knowledge that I want them to have in terms of how to coach a client, how to tackle certain situation, or let's say this client has an issue like he can't seem to squat properly. How can we help him to ensure that eventually he get to be able to squat properly? So that's my role as a master coach. I ensure that most of my coaches are equipped with the right knowledge to actually teach the client. Because here's also the thing. I mean, I think probably it's worth for me to mention this. Like the way we function inside Ritual is not like any other gym. Well, like like basically in a commercial gym, you go in, you do your own stuff. So, but what we do down here is basically we try to strike the balance in between of personal training and a group class. Yeah, so at any given half an hour you come in, there will be a session going on. You join in the session. So any coach that is available on that hour will be taking the session. So meaning to say, like, say example, you decided to jump into a session today at 3:30, you are doing a session with Sheikh. So after, say example, tomorrow you come in, you might be doing with another session with Darren. So you see, here's the thing, you will meet all these coaches. So the way we practice down here, we always say it like this. Edric is my client, is your client, is his client, is every one of us client. So he is a client of Ritual and we take care of him. So that's how we put it. So we want to make sure that if I were to teach you how to do your squat in this manner, the other guy will teach you the same exact way. Yeah, I'm not saying the other way is all wrong. Because here's the thing, I mean, fitness is ever evolving, right? So as we all know, everybody practice things in a certain way. Yeah, so do we. I mean, we in Ritual also, we practice things in a certain way, but it's a lot more generalized. Generalized in the sense where it's applicable for everybody, from athletes to the everyday guy. Yeah.
Hi everyone, thanks again for watching. As you know, Edric loves freebies and I want to help you get some freebies too. So Shrek and Ritual have very, very kindly given us a free consultation session as well as a free 3-session starter pack. This is limited to only 20 of our listeners, so head on over to ritualgym.com/trials and get your free consultation and starter pack with promo code EPIC037. Remember, it's limited to the first 20 only, so key in promo code EPIC037 and back to the podcast. Then on your end, right, when you all decide to design a workout, this is something that I've always been very intrigued by, especially over at Ritual when you have workouts of the day. So first off, who are you catering to when you do these workouts of the day? And let's say, for example, if you know that these are the guys who come back every day, does that mean that we're always working on the same functional groups, or is it because you're breaking it down into different back in the day we will always go by either supersetting or we'll go by split body parts or very specific things like isometrics or whatever it is that we need to do. So how is it so different over at Ritual, and what are the things that you do to design your workouts?
Okay, so over here, I keep in mind that who we are trying to cater to is the everyday people. And then of course, every now and then we have like some guys doing some sports out there trying to really find some form of improvement in the sports that they do as well. So we generally, if you were to ask me, who do we cater for? Everybody. So that being the term everybody is very broad, right? Yeah. So that's the reason why the way I design my program also is very broad. And I put it as simple as possible. So we work on basic movement pattern. So we talk about basic pushing, vertical pushing, horizontal pushing, and then vertical pulling, horizontal pulling, and then your lower body, and then the hinge pattern, and then some form of locomotive as well. So when I design my workout from day to day, I'll try to ensure that every workout targets the whole body. Because here's the thing, I may have a guy who's going to only come once a week. I'm going to have a guy who's going to come up to 5 or 6 times a week. So what I will normally try to ensure is that everybody goes out working their whole body. Okay? So I know some people might say, isn't that like causing some form of overtraining? Of course not. Because here's the thing, if you talk about like overtraining, there's a very high chance of overtraining if you, let's say, decided like, I'm going to do 10 sets of 10 repetitions of squats today, and then I'm going to do this for the next 5 days. That is definitely going to cause overtraining. Yeah, but if you do it as a full body, you can't be doing 10 sets of everything. Yeah, you probably do much lesser. So it's really in bite pieces every single day. Okay, so that's one. Okay, so the other thing is I'm also looking at the fact that like there are these guys who basically don't even know how to move well. Okay, when I say they don't know how to move well, it's like I give you an example, a very simple example. the hinge pattern, or some people would know as the deadlift. Not many people understand this movement. Yeah, and I've seen many times when people do this movement, they don't do it correctly. So with that being said, one of the way that we actually tackle this problem, we actually have variations to all this movement. Yeah, so any given point of time, 10 guys steps on the floor. These 10 guys might be from different fitness level or different fitness background. So what we do is we generalize, okay, and we just mention like, okay, so client A, this guy is a very beginner, never done any form of training before. So what we are going to make sure he do is just the movement itself, not weighted. Okay, so client B, okay, this guy has some training background. So what we're going to make him do is a weighted deadlift using a kettlebell. Yeah, so and so on. I mean, we try to cater to every. This is how we personalize things for all the individual clients down here. Yeah, so same movement pattern but different variations. Yeah, so this is usually what we want to try and look at. And then the other thing is also the other thing people always talk about, intensity. So intensity is a term that, I mean, these days is being thrown everywhere. Everybody is like, oh, my workout is high intensity, bro. Oh, my workout is like, I'm gonna make sure you puke after this and stuff like that. But this is where I come in and sort of like put a full stop to all those things. Especially this is also what I always keep reminding my coaches. It's like our duty as a coach is not to ensure that we push the client so hard to a point that they feel dizzy or they pass out or they start puking and stuff like that. That's not our goal. Because a good coach will be able to cater to every individual. If you can just do that, that makes you just, I mean, I don't want to give a term to that, but to me, that's not a coach. Yeah, everybody can do that. If you were to train with your friend, you can tekan your friend until your friend pingsan and stuff like that. But as a coach, that's not what we're gonna do. As a coach, we're just gonna ensure that this guy gets what he needs to for today. Yeah, and we're gonna like individualize, make sure that okay, this guy is strong enough. This is his only his first session of the week. Yeah, he's feeling okay. Okay, so I'm gonna make sure that I ensure that he's gonna push himself a bit harder. He's gonna lift a slightly heavier weight. Yeah, so this is what we mean by like we also want to try and we want to cater to everybody and just make sure that everybody stays safe. And the idea of training, which is something a lot of people always have this misunderstanding or like, oh, intensity means every day you have to push hard, this kind of thing. You have to make sure you sweat, you feel like your heart is about to pop out and stuff. No, that's why I say no. So if a guy is already said that I'm going to try and make it 5 days a week for this particular week, I'm not going to try and ask him to like, okay, I want you to ensure that you get your heart rate up to 90% every single day that you come in here. Yeah, I will definitely plan out for him to, okay, Monday we're going to go hard. Okay, Tuesday, I want you to actually slow things down a bit. Okay, Wednesday, I want you to bring the intensity up again. Then after that, Thursday, we take a rest. And then we're going to come in for the other 2 days as well. And then this is how we're going to plan it. Yeah, so you see the current thing, like because of the term high intensity, I mentioned earlier, right? High intensity is just being thrown out. Like literally, like everybody, oh, I'm doing high intensity. It's like, and to a point, like these days, I find that most people actually just know how to move, but they do not know how to engage the muscle properly. That's also another issue. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, there were a couple of things that you've mentioned, right? Number one is that the intensity issue, right, and the frequency.
Yeah.
It's okay to work out every day. I honestly believe that, right? It's the variation in intensity that you must have. So there was a podcast I was listening to that time. Faraz Sahabi was on it, right? From TriStar Gym. Yeah. So he was mentioning something that to me made so much sense. I never thought about it, but it made so much sense. He was mentioning that he trains his guys to reach 70 to 80% each time. Reason why is because let's just assume it is based on hours, right? If you exercise or do a certain movement for 1 hour, and you do that over a week, then that's 7 hours in a week. But if you're doing it for 2 hours in a day and then you're completely burnt out, you won't reach that, right? So based on repetition alone, you're able to do so much more just by maintaining the 70-80% rule, so that your body is rested and you're not burnt out for the next day.
Yes,
So this is
that's
how you
right.
can create the consistency
Yeah.
as we go along. You were also mentioning about the particular training method as well, right? When it came to things like the deadlifts, the hinge movements, the locomotives, right? What were the common things that you were actually seeing in terms of the issues with deadlifts? Were they using
Okay.
their backs too much, using the arms to pull instead? What was it?
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. In general, like a lot of people, because you see, we are in this time where most of us tend to do our work on our desk. So we pretty much sit a lot. Okay, we're sitting a lot, and then and for many people, we are just living a very sedentary lifestyle, like not much activity and stuff. So generally, you see, the way I look at it, humans are anterior dominant. Okay, so I give you a very simple example. Pushing and pulling, which one would be easier?
Well, naturally, we will think it's pushing.
Pushing, of course. Yes, it's definitely easier to push. Like most people should be able to push something overhead, right? But if I ask you to pull yourself up, I mean, not making fun now,
Bench
but
press,
these days,
yeah.
not
A
many
bench
people
press is easier to
actually
do than bench press is a lot easier to do than a pull up.
pull up. Exactly, right? Yeah. So you see, like most of us are just made strong anterior. So our posture is pretty much like for many people, the switch off has been like not functioning for the last many years for some of them. Okay, so now when I ask them to do a hinge pattern, right, they do not know there's this muscle called the hamstrings. So they do not even know how to engage that muscle. Yeah, so when they suddenly like when you put them in a position, then they realize like, hey, why am I feeling a stretch at the back of my legs, which is the hamstring muscle, right? And they don't like that feeling. So they don't like that feeling. So they try to transfer that feeling elsewhere. So when they transfer that feeling elsewhere, then the movement looks a lot more like a squat, which is a lot more natural for many people to just sit and step, yeah, which is a squat motion, right? Yeah. So for a person to bow down and lift something up, I mean, how many times we always hear, oh, when you leave something on the floor, make sure you squat down and lift up, right? Yeah, because generally a lot of people are strong on their quads, so they will not hurt themselves. But when you ask them to bend down, what's going to happen is they're not going to engage their hamstrings, they're just going to engage their lower back. And that's why people say, oh, deadlift is a very dangerous movement. Dangerous movement if you do it wrongly, but it's actually a very important movement because it's something that you need to ensure that the posterior stays active. And if not, I mean, for many people, it's like that muscle not being active, meaning you will be anteriorly a lot more stronger. So a lot of you will depend a lot more everything on the front. So eventually there will be a lot of imbalance. And once this imbalance comes in, there's also things like injuries because of overuse of a certain muscle and underuse of a particular muscle.
Right.
Yeah.
And what are your top 3 exercises for hamstrings?
Okay.
Something that some people can do at home.
Yeah, so a very simple way to actually activate the hamstring, right, is just to practice the movement first. Practice the movement of bowing down. Okay, so here's the thing. When we bow down, what we don't want is we don't want to end up rounding our back. Yeah, so we want to try and ensure we stay upright. Okay, and then when we actually bow down, it's actually hinging at the hips. Okay, not bending the knees. Okay, so bending the knees, the difference is when you bend the knees, that becomes a lot more of a squat movement. Okay, so that's one way to activate the hamstring. And then the other way is to lie down flat on the ground. Okay, so I call this exercise is known as the glute bridge. So basically, you just want to lie down flat on the ground and then put your feet flat on the floor. Okay, so you will actually basically your knees will form like a 90 degrees, right? Yeah, so from there, you raise your hips off the floor. That will definitely hit the hamstring. And the other muscle that is actually that is actually very important, a very big muscle, which is your glutes, also known as the backside. Yeah, so there's also another muscle that is actually not being used. So this is something I would, this is the two things that I will always encourage people. Like if let's say you don't have access to the gym, right, the simplest thing you do is just these two things. Yeah, just to get some form of activation on your hamstrings.
Right. And okay, one of the reasons why I'm asking this as well is because number one, right, like what you mentioned, the truth is that people neglect the hamstring. My truth is that I hate doing hamstring curls in the gym because that sucks. It just hurts like hell, right? But like what you mentioned, over time as we age, somehow or other, the hamstring, if it's not well stretched out, it's not strong enough, it affects your calves, it affects everything else. So it's just an entire chain of problems after that. My go-to has always been of course, the deadlift, stiff-legged deadlifts if necessary, and gorilla swings, kettlebell swings. That stuff is, man, that thing burned my hamstrings like crazy, and it was super useful.
Okay, so with that being said, also, I would just interject you a bit. So when it comes to doing exercise movements, right? So I will always tell a lot of people that you also have to evolve with your exercise. Myself, I've seen myself evolve with my exercise, being like say example, I don't see a need for me to be able to squat 2 times my body weight anymore. I don't see a need for me to deadlift 2 times my body weight anymore.
Right.
The reason is because at this point of time, I mean, I will not consider myself as an athlete anymore. Yeah, back then, yes. Yeah, but now I would rather call myself as I'm a generalist. I'm just doing this for the sake of health. Yeah. So look at the way when you plan your workout, you want to be able to do this for the next 10, 20, or even 30 years from now. Like for myself, I mean, I'm turning 40 already. So I want to be able to do this if I'm going to live for the next 20 years. And if with that being said, what I'm doing now, I don't think I will be doing when I'm 60 years old.
Yep.
So it's really about like trying to ensure that you also evolve your training and think about training as a lot more of for longevity purposes, as opposed to just like training. A lot of people like this. I mean, I'm not saying you cannot train to lose some weight. You cannot train to have a six pack or a big bicep. I mean, these are all some small goals that some people have. But my advice is, don't let this be the main reason why you are training. Yeah, always remember, training should be because you want to do this for your health.
It's not about the vanity goals that we used to have, like back in the day we were, we love the hyper masculine aspects, Arnold Schwarzenegger, your Stallones and your Jean-Claude Van Dammes and all the action heroes that we saw before. But now it's more about what the goal is about driving general health. In my view, was general health was it's always about mobility, and functional strength. There's no point having it's like what they say, there's no point having big biceps when you can't even carry groceries, from the store.
Yeah, there you go.
So it's more of that we're thinking about exercises that we work on every day, that we should have a certain flexibility and mobility and balance between strength and flexibility as well.
That's right.
But when you do all of this right now, one thing I also wanted to ask you, right, is how are you integrating tech with all of this? The biggest fad for the longest time was getting your Fitbit, getting your Google smartwatch, or whatever it was for things like heart rate monitors and all. But all in all, if you don't know how to use it, what's the point in having it? So what would you actually recommend, right, in a basic understanding of how to use this technology to improve our exercise programs?
Okay, so here's my take on tech. And once again, this is purely my opinion. So I hope I'm not going to offend anybody. Personally, I use tech. I mean, I have a Garmin myself. Okay, so sometimes when I do my run, I like to know like how far have I been running, or what kind of pace am I running at, what's my heart rate, where is my heart rate zone and stuff like that. So here's the thing: if I were to introduce this to somebody who's very new, it is actually going to complicate things for them. So they're going to probably spend a lot more time trying to figure out where should my heart rate be and stuff like that, as opposed to getting the work done. So if there's anything, I would say a simple step tracker, that's all we need for a start, especially for very new guys, right? because you just want to like have a simple goal of like, okay, I'm going to ensure that every day I'm going to hit about 10,000 steps. I know, once again, like I said, this sounds all very general, right? But this is exactly what these guys need for a start.
Right.
Okay, and then once you get deeper into it, then you start to actually like see if there's actually a benefit to see whether like, I need to know where my heart rate zone is exactly and stuff like that. Personally, myself, I don't use that all the time. Like once in a blue moon, I just want to ensure that when, let's say when I do my HIIT workout, I just want to ensure that my heart rate actually goes back to rest before I hit my next set. Yeah, so that's the only time I actually look. And sometimes, to be honest, I don't even, because I've already said this is the work to rest ratio that I'm going to work with. I'm just going to stick with that. So during the period where I'm resting, I just ensure like I do proper breathing technique just to get myself rested, and then I hit hard again on the next set. Yeah. So with tech, that's my thing on tech. I mean, it is useful if that definitely if let's say you are trying to beat your personal best for your half marathon. Yeah, these things definitely come into play. But if you are the everyday guy trying to stay fit or trying to lose a bit of weight, the last thing you want is to depend too much on this tech.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. Um, Now, you mentioned 10,000 steps. It always sounds like such a daunting task, you know. Oh, 10,000 steps. It's like I told you 10,000 reps. You'd be like, are you crazy? But
Yeah.
10,000 steps, let's put it into context. What exactly is 10,000 steps? How far is that? How much effort really is 10,000 steps?
Okay, 10,000 steps should roughly be about 3 to 4 kilometers. I mean, I guess it's person to person because
Yeah.
depends on their
It
stride.
depends on the length of your stride.
Stride, yes, that's right, that's right. Yeah, so I'm talking about 3 to 4 kilometers. So I know for many people that, oh, I usually go down my block and my bus stop is just in front of me. So I don't really walk so much. Yeah. So here's the thing. I mean, a simple way you can actually try and work around it. I mean, always remember this. You set yourself this goal. Sometimes you will hit it. Sometimes you will don't. You might not hit it. Don't just kill yourself because like, oh, I didn't hit my goal, so I'm just gonna go hard on myself, that kind of thing. Or maybe I'm just gonna make it up tomorrow. I'm gonna run 10 kilometers. That's the last thing you want to do, because you see, these are the kind of mindset that will actually, that is not sustainable. Yeah. So once again, you see, I will always talk about longevity, sustainability. Yeah. So with that being said, like, okay, now I'm trying to hit that 10,000 steps. Yeah. Just find ways. I mean, as opposed to like, if let's say, I mean, if it's possible, like instead of taking the bus stop that is close to you, maybe take the next bus stop. Yeah, so simple things like this. I mean, all these can, I mean, I'm just giving you an example. I'm not saying that this is the only way to work around it. Yeah, and I'm very sure, like, you guys are a lot more smarter to be thinking of ways to work around this. Yeah, and if you are not so sure, of course, I mean, that's the reason why there's myself, people like us, coaches around, because come to us and obviously we're going to help you out around this, how to actually work around all these things. Yeah.
Sometimes the internet can be also a very scary place, right? Because you get so many differing opinions.
Yeah, that's also the
Yeah.
other thing I was saying. I was actually talking about this to my friend. It's like, we are living in a time and age where people know everything. It's like even the clients that come into the gym. I mean, I'm not trying to diss any one of my clients, but truth is, these guys are well equipped with knowledge as well. They are just, some of them even know a lot more things than some of my coaches do. Yeah. So, but here's also the thing, right? I mean, that's the reason why I constantly always try and apply what I learn. And there's also another thing I was saying is like, when you go on the internet, it's not doing a research. When you are trying to find something, you are not doing a research. You are just trying to find a reference. Yeah, this is what everybody does because all the information is already out there. So it's a matter of, yeah, like narrow it down to what you're trying to look for and then apply. So this is where I guess coaches come in. We get all this information, we apply. So we apply to ourselves. Like for me personally, that's what I do. I will apply it to myself first. And then from there, if I find there is certain things I need to do to tweak here and there. I make my judgment as a coach, and to the best of my knowledge, make all those tweaks, and then from there I'll introduce to the client. And
Right.
once I introduce to our clients, what we want to do is we also want to observe closely. It's like, how are they responding? Because different people will respond differently. Yeah. So there's also another thing about the internet. As much as I am thankful all the information is out there, I'm also actually worried because there's too many information out there, and then it doesn't help if like say example a guy who doesn't know anything, he just go to the internet, then he bump onto this so and so influencer on the Instagram, teach him to do, oh, these are the movement that gives you six pack. Because we are humans, we are very drawn to visual, right? So the moment we see is that, oh, that guy has a very good looking, his body looks good, so he does this. So automatically for most of us, maybe if I do something like he does, I will come somewhere close. But truth is, we do not know all the other aspect of things that this guy has to go through in order to look like that. Yeah, so which is why, like for myself, I know I can be very repetitive. I mean, most of my clients know me like that, very repetitive, always talking about the same thing. Maybe to some people I am boring because I only emphasize on doing basic things, basic things, basic things. But truth is, the basic things is the one that work. And the worst part is like a lot of people don't even know how to do the basic things properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
mean,
those
how
are the
many
most
of
difficult
our
things to nail down.
Yeah, exactly. Like just give you an example. You know how many like some of maybe friends or somebody you've seen, like they train for a long time, but still they can't actually perform. And when you see the movement, because you know how the movement is supposed to be, like they can't do the movement properly. And you just know that something is not right somewhere, right? Maybe he's not getting the right information, or he's not applying the right information. Yeah. So that's the reason why sometimes I say, yes, you can look at the internet, but I mean, do your best to find the right people to follow. And that's where I feel like there's a necessity for me to actually also put something on my social media. To be honest, I'm not a fan of putting things and teaching people through social media platform, because I have this like I can't say hatred, but I don't like, because there's a lot of misinformation that people on the internet is giving to the general masses, and then to see that some of these guys, and then sometimes to some extent people, when I try to help somebody and people like telling me that, you know, you're wrong. Last time I saw this guy on this YouTube channel, he said you're not supposed to do it like that. I was like, okay, I guess he's right. I'm not.
Yeah, well, that's what they say, right? Whether you're right or you're wrong, eventually, you're right lah.
Yeah.
Because it's what you believe, is your perception of whether
Exactly,
you think it's
exactly.
right or wrong.
Correct,
So,
correct.
when you mention all of this, I've come across so many videos that have said that, you can't, don't do sit-ups. You can't do any more sit-ups. Oh, don't put your knees over your toes. Don't do stiff-legged deadlifts.
Deadlifts, yeah.
Don't lift this much over your head. Don't do, let's say, for example, cross-plane kettlebell movement. It will hurt the torsion will hurt your back.
Correct.
Like, that's not true. You think about it, right? Everything is based on your own human movement. Everything
Yeah.
is based on what you normally do. Whether
Yeah.
you're not going to be carrying logs everywhere you go, but what you carry in your hands, how do you move? Sometimes you may need to jump out of the way if a bus is coming at you. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
like, it's a probably once in a lifetime thing. Depending on
Yeah.
how many buses you actually see in your life, right? Charging
That's
at
right,
you.
that's right.
The point here is that, where is it that it's giving health and fitness such a bad name? When we talk about health and fitness, it goes into several different things, right? It's not just your exercise programs, designing this thing, and the vanity of wanting the perfect physique, when it's really not necessary. It's purely for show.
Yeah.
But then what about the nutrition part? That part I get very freaked out, because some people will say, oh, this is how you do meal prep, this is how you do let's say, for example, you only need to spend this amount on meal prep. But in the end, you look at the portions, right, that they give you, the kind of cuts that they use in terms of meats. There's no added vitamins. There's nothing. And when you freeze overboiled vegetables, what's the point?
Yeah. Okay, so you see that, let's touch a bit on nutrition. Yeah. So since you should bring that up, I think it's a good thing that we chat a bit about this portion. So with regards to nutrition, so here's also the thing. This is something I learned over the last many years, right? The idea of writing a nutrition plan and you give to a client doesn't work. Okay, I'll be straight up. Okay, it maybe work for a very small percentage. Yeah, but to tell a person that okay, you are gonna only eat this, okay, you only eat rice, broccoli, chicken breast. A person can only do that for a certain time. Yeah, so which is why you see, once again, these are all the things we need to factor when we give somebody a form of advice. Yeah, so for me, generally, like you have to look into an aspect like, say, example, John. John works like 12 hours. He works from morning to night. Do you think he has time to prep his meal? Definitely not. Do you think he has time to actually like find a certain type of food? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, depending on where he works. Yeah. So you see, all this aspect, you have to try and try and help them out with this, as opposed to just telling them, oh, just make sure you have like 100 grams of protein, 100 grams of carbs, and maybe about 20 grams.
How
As
to
opposed,
calculate?
yeah, exactly. Because here's the thing: not everybody has the ability for all this kind of information, or the ability to just like slowly break down everything, prep their meal. Not everybody has that. So which is why, like for me myself, generally what I would say is like the simplest. Once again, go with the simplest. Uh, give them a simple example, as opposed to like, okay, Shrek, I usually only eat at the hawker center. Okay, so what do you normally eat? What do you think is the best food that you can eat? I guess I should avoid fried food. Okay, good. Okay, you avoid fried food. That's a very good thing. Okay, so what should I have? You want to have some form of protein. You want to have some form of carbs. Okay, and don't really worry about so much about the fats. But take a look at your protein. Is your protein a good source of protein? Okay, let's take our very common local dish. I like to use this as an example: chicken rice.
Ah,
Yeah, chicken rice. Just
love
nice, right? We got a protein, we got a carb source. Yeah, but how do we ensure? Okay, so a normal portion size when you buy at a hawker center or any form of like chicha and stuff like that, right? They will just give you like a lot of rice and then a lot of just a bunch of protein. Yeah, like maybe like a small bunch of protein. So you know that something is a bit off down here, right? Okay, why don't let's try and ask them to let's try and request for slightly higher amount of protein. So maybe, uncle, can you add me an extra $2 of chicken? Yeah, and then the rice. Okay, and if I mean the rice itself is being the way I'm this is based on my understanding. Chicken rice is cooked with like some broth and so on so on. And there's a lot of additional things maybe not necessary. So if you can decide to can choose to switch that to just like plain rice, you switch. If not, alternative is just cut a portion of it, because most of us are over consuming carbohydrates without us knowing. And here's also the thing, right? When I mention the term carbohydrate, everybody, oh yeah, carbohydrate. Don't eat carbohydrate.
no, no,
That's the one.
must eat.
You must, exactly. Okay, let me put this out to everybody. Because common thing, everybody will. I'm gonna go on a diet tomorrow, so I'm gonna stop eating rice. And let me tell you guys, here's the thing. I eat rice every single day. You can ask my mom. Okay, and I'm not saying that I'm super good looking or what, but I look okay. Because why? That rice is something we grow up with. Okay, once again, this also boils down to the factor of how you grew up with. How were you like raised? I mean, for most of us, come on, rice is something that we eat since young, right? So to ask us to actually request for that client to stop eating rice, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work.
Yep.
But if you ask
Correct.
him to like, can you try and portion your rice? Okay, so instead of having this amount, we have this amount. Can you do that? Can. Okay. Okay, maybe don't cut down too much. Cut down just a bit first. And then slowly. So you all these things when it comes to nutrition, it's not as difficult as how when you see like all this information show you, oh, you have to do it like this, like this, like this. If you're gonna follow it step by step, of course, it's a good thing. But once again, my question is, are you able to do that? If you are not able to do that, then find ways around it. Yeah. So for myself also, even myself, I mean, personally, yes, I do cook my own food, even up till today. I mean, this has been a habit since my bodybuilding days. It just carry over, and I know that one thing for sure is I enjoy putting food in my mouth, knowing that, oh, I got this amount, I got this amount, I got this amount, and I know one thing for sure: this will give me good energy during my workout.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for a start, usually like for when I advise client, tell them don't change too much. If you eat char kway teow during your lunchtime every day, so maybe now switch. One day char kway teow, one day chicken rice, one day char kway teow, one day chicken rice. And then after that, see if you can choose to like eat lesser char kway teow.
Right.
So eventually they slowly build their habit. And then when they realize that when they do their exercises, like, those days where I eat the char kway teow, my energy is like crap, man. Then they realize, maybe it's the char kway teow. So they will make that conscious effort to, I'm not gonna eat char kway teow. Later I'm gonna work out. I don't want my energy to feel like last week when I was eating char kway teow. So see, all these small things.
Yeah.
And once again, like for me, I like to use this kind of term to explain to people because it's a lot more relatable to the everyday, like especially our local Singaporeans, right? Yeah. Or people in this region, if you ask me.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This is something that is very, very important, I think, especially when we've been to different gyms, we've tried different things, and the nice thing is that you experiment it on yourself. It's not like you just throw the program to somebody else and expect them to be guinea pigs, right? So I guinea pigged myself, all right, in trying a keto diet, which I did absolutely wrongly, to the point where I was consuming too much red meat and too much fat. In the end, I actually had what do you call it, gallbladder stone. So internet research, stupid, right? So I'm still here. But then it taught me a lot. Number one is that the importance of carbohydrates. Like, just to add on to what you had mentioned, carbohydrates is like fuel, right? This is exactly what it is. The next thing is also, people don't know, or at least many who don't know this, carbohydrates are so important for muscle recovery. So you still got to eat that little bit to help, because it really does help in that. If you go completely without carbs at all, right, man, I tell you, the body really feels terrible.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking carbohydrates for many of us is a source of energy. Yeah, it's a source of energy. So if you don't eat it, and if you like say example, take again the most famous thing, I mean, which you just mentioned, keto diet, right? In order for you to be what we call fat adapted, where you're depending on fat as your energy, it takes a while. And here's also the thing, like not many people enjoy that. Reason is why, because you don't grow up like that. Unless you tell me at the age of when you start eating properly, maybe during kindergarten, your mother start putting you on keto diet. That's a different story. Yeah, but for most of us, no. I mean, frankly speaking, at the age of 5 years old, when I was growing up, what's the typical breakfast I get from my mom? Bread. Or when I was slightly older, my mom will buy me roti prata and nasi lemak, bro. I mean, this is fact. So if you're gonna tell me that stop eating carbs, it's almost like impossible for many people. For me, if I can put myself through that. I can put myself, because I have the discipline to do it. Yeah, but would I do this for a long time? No, I don't. I'm still gonna enjoy my ice cream every now and then. I'm still gonna eat my pizza every now and then. Yeah. So you see,
sometimes it makes me wonder, like the keto diet and all this, right? It's such a first world thing. It's really for rich people. Like, you think about it, right? Like, who the hell can afford prime cuts of meat every day?
Once again, even you see, like when it comes to eating, right? It's all about sustainability, right? If you're gonna tell me that, oh, I can eat keto because I can afford to actually buy this kind of and if you can like buy organic veggies and stuff like that, I was like, good for you. I mean, personally myself, I can't do that.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, I can't do that.
It's so bloody expensive, you know. Hey, one meal it's going to cost you $20. No, if you think about it, just for the meat and whatever. Like,
Yeah.
okay, fine. I'm trying to grow my own vegetables.
Yeah.
Literally, I'm really trying to
Okay.
grow my own
Okay.
vegetables.
That's
Just
good.
and it makes a big difference, to be honest. In terms of just the feel, of growing
Mm.
your own things, being
Yeah,
sustainable at
that's
school.
nice. That's nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the keto thing was like, I really, when I went through it, I was also wondering, how the hell am I going to sustain this lifestyle?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not it's not feasible for me. So
Yeah.
it makes again, it goes back to that very very basic rule of,
Yeah.
and you have to be super honest with yourself. Can you
Mm.
afford such things? Is it hype for me? Is it
Yeah.
something to try? And
Yeah.
is it something that I can really, like what you mentioned earlier on the podcast as well, is this something that I can do for the next 20 years?
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this again, we're still on the topic of misconceptions, right, of health and fitness. And when it came to the nutrition aspect of things, I have one question.
Mm.
Are supplements essential?
Okay, very good question. Okay, so supplements. Okay, so the word supplements itself, what does it mean? It's a form
To
of
add
add,
on.
to add on, right? Yeah. So if you already have a well balanced eating habit, okay, so the add on may be or maybe not necessary. Okay, so what would I like say example, what would be essential? Okay, like all those micronutrients like your vitamins and stuff that you know that you are lacking of, then maybe yes. Okay, it's like say example like basic multivitamins. Yeah, and then the other thing would be like okay, so for some people they are trying to ensure that they have enough fats in their diet. Yeah, so then that's where things like fish oil, yeah, I would suggest just to ensure that you have enough fat, healthy fats in your diet. Yeah. So if you know that, oh no, I'm actually eating quite well, I'm ensuring that I get enough like fatty acids and stuff like that. So honestly, not necessary. Yeah. Or if let's say a person is trying to build muscle, so obviously he requires slightly higher protein intake. Okay. So let's say example, if I'm gonna try and build muscle right now, I require about 180 grams to 200 grams of protein. Am I going to be able to get everything from food? Close. And the things that, if let's say I'm like off by 30, 40 grams, that's usually where I will supplement it with like whey protein or any form of protein powders. Yeah, then I would supplement that. But as much as I can, I will always try to get from whole foods first. Yeah, because
Right.
whole foods is the one that is going to be your biggest bang bang for your buck. Yeah.
Right. One of the things is that you mentioned that, let's say, for example, you need 100 grams of protein, for example. Now, misconception is that when we think 100 grams of protein, it means 100 grams of meat.
Yeah.
So how do we make it easy as a rule of thumb to better understand how much of this particular meat that we take in has how much protein?
Okay, so this one, I mean, the easiest way, I mean, okay, so this is the one where you will depend on the internet. Okay, you can go because there's many websites, but then also I guess I can't recall which website, but there are a local website where you can get like information on like if you eat local food, how much protein. But this kind of thing is a very simple thing. You're talking about like let's say 100 grams of chicken. How much protein does it have? Okay, so for me, everything is at the back of my hand. And I can tell you like 100 grams of protein, 100 grams of chicken breast will give you about 20 grams of protein. Yeah, so all this information can be found on the internet. So easy.
Yeah.
So once you narrow it down, like okay, I need 100 grams of protein today. So how am I going to break it down? Okay, say example, I'm going to have 300 grams of chicken breast, uh, a few eggs, and maybe I have one serving of protein shake. That gives you about 100 grams. Yeah. So
Right.
these are just a simple way to find out exactly how much protein you need.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And when we talk about all this, right, the exercise programs, the discipline, the change in your diet, the improvements in your nutrition, and all this, right? Many of us actually tend to give up a lot of the time, in that quest to stay fit and healthy. I think one of the misconceptions moving toward this particular point is that when people think that you must be fit, the mental model, the mental image, right, is that you have to be super fit, you have to get it every day, that kind of thing. But in essence, right, fit and healthy doesn't necessarily mean that you have to look like that
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
time, but it's more
yeah.
of your daily function, how you are
Correct.
doing well, and of course, not falling sick. That's the
Yeah,
thing, right?
yeah, yeah. That's
Now,
the thing.
in your opinion, from the clientele that you have, the people that you've met along the way, it's a long journey for you. What are the key reasons to why people tend to give up, in this entire journey?
Yeah, very, very simple. This one I actually mentioned just now, somewhere earlier. I actually mentioned it's like people are too focused on like goals like looking as such, weighing a certain weight. Yeah. So when you put like an end goal to your whatever you're trying to achieve, right? So this is usually where people tend to fall off because they will realize that it's not easy, especially like you already lost 10 kg and then you're trying to put on another like maybe another like you're just trying to lose another 2 kg and this is your last 2 kg to lose and it will always be the hardest, right? So
Yeah.
when they hit that point, that's usually where people say, shit, I cannot take it already. I'm struggling. I'm like already underfeeding myself. I'm already on calorie deficit. So this is not gonna, okay, I'm just gonna give up. Because you see, they are trying to get to that goal so much. That's the reason why I always say, once again, think health as something that is sustainable and something that you can do for a long time. So which is why there's this saying I like to say, health and fitness is not about how you look on the outside. It's really about how you feel on the inside. When I say about feeling on the inside, it means your system is clean, you are
Yep.
healthy, and you feel good every single day. You wake up, you don't feel like you're beaten down. You don't feel like
Yeah.
I just got hit by a truck, man. Because yesterday woke up, that squat was so hard, man. I hit my personal best and blah blah blah. So yeah, good on a good note, you probably hit what you want to, you achieve what you want to achieve. But on a bad note, your body takes a toll. So how is that fitness? How is that being healthy when you are waking up in pain? It doesn't make sense, right? If you say that, oh, being healthy is about feeling good, but you're not feeling good. You only feel good at that point when you hit, yes, I finally hit my 200 kg deadlift. But then tomorrow you feel like, I'm a wrecking ball, man. Seriously, I cannot wake up. I cannot get up from my bed and stuff like that. Seriously, how is that healthy? Yeah. And I mean, if I can give you another, this is a true example of myself. When when I was doing bodybuilding, obviously I was looking at my best, right? And let me honestly tell you, when I was looking at my best, I was at the worst of my health. Doesn't make sense, right? I have six packs. My bicep was literally tearing my shirts. Uh, but seriously, I mean, I'll be honest with you guys, that was me feeling at my worst. Yeah, the only nice thing is when everybody's checking you out, lah. Yeah, so
That's a
it
nice
doesn't
thing,
make
right?
sense. That just doesn't make sense to me. That was actually, for me personally, that was my turning point when I decided to like embark on this journey of like find something sustainable, find something that I can do for a long time, because it just doesn't make sense. Like, how am I actually looking at my best, but yet I am actually feeling at my worst?
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. So something I want to actually just put it out to everybody out there listening. If really fitness is about staying healthy, feeling good every single day, but if you wake up feeling like you are already beaten up, you are not properly rested, is that really fitness? Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Like, all boils down back to the basics of,
Mm.
what you need to do in your daily life. What is it that you need to continue to do it to ensure a very sustainable lifestyle that
Yeah.
you are. Again, I love that. That is how you feel on the inside.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
focus so much on making sure I feel strong. Not necessarily being strong, but just
Yeah.
feeling strong.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
important thing. And we talked about this as well, about pushing the limits. How much
Mm.
is too much? In your mind, right? Like, we've gone through a certain training regime or regimen
Yeah.
back then,
Yeah.
whereby we hurt ourselves along the way.
Of course.
Um, whether or not it was the shoulder cuff or whether or not it was the hip or hip flexor. I think many of us actually have hip flexor issues because of
Yep.
load bearing back then. Everything was done badly. But
Yeah.
when you think about it, right, do you know, David Goggins, right, he mentioned before, when you start feeling pain, when you start reaching that point where you want to quit, you're only 40% done.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do you believe that too?
Obviously, you will know my answer is no to that. I totally don't believe that kind. You know what's the worst term that people always use? No pain, no
What?
gain.
Oh, no. Too
Bro,
much pain, you have less gains. In fact,
when
zero gains.
when there's pain, it means you have to find out exactly what is causing the pain. And when you know, don't push. Find out, go and solve the problem first before you try to push yourself.
Right.
Yes, I mean, there's always like, here's also the thing. There's always time and place where you want to really like, I want to have a hard workout today. I just want to feel like, I really want to sweat it out. I want to feel like I want to pass out and shit like that. There's time and day for that, but not every day. Like honestly, personally, like a lot of people always think like, Shrek, oh, this guy is quite brutal. The way he trains is quite brutal. The way I train is, for me, this is what I can sustain for my body. And goes back to what you were saying just now about who's that MMA coach? Zara's
Firas Zahabi, yeah.
Firas Zahabi, right? I totally agree with him. I listened to his podcast where he was actually chatting with Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
So he was mentioning about like, it's not really about pushing yourself hard every single day and then beat yourself down and then try to do it every day again and again and again. Yeah, because it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. You want to push yourself to a point where you are getting stronger. And you getting stronger is you waking up the next day, being able to function and do everything better. Being able to sit and stand off from the floor easy, as opposed to like, I'm gonna get up. Like, shit. That just doesn't make sense. If you are going through every single day like that, you are definitely doing too much. This is just a simplest way to gauge yourself. Any point of time you feel like crap for 3, 4, 5 days continuously, then that's just too much. If let's say you are working towards a goal and your coach is actually like giving you a program, yes, you will feel crap on certain days. That's fine, because maybe this guy he's an athlete trying to achieve a certain benchmark or certain goals that he needs to hit. Yes, of course. So which is why it boils down to like, are you trying to be an athlete? If you are trying to be an athlete, yes, there will be days where your body will feel like crap. There will be days you don't want to even get up from bed to do that workout. Yeah. But that once again, like I said, that is for a person who is an athlete, who is actually working towards a goal, a certain or competition or some shows and stuff like that. But if you're an everyday person, it's like, do you really feel that working out, you have to ensure that you push yourself hard enough to a point that you feel crap every single day? Yeah. So you see, it all boils down back to like, you have to really know what you are trying to achieve. Yeah.
Yeah, completely understand that point as well. It's really, really, really important to know, not so much that we don't want to overcome our limits, but knowing, like what you mentioned, right, step by step, progressively being able to overcome that. And if there's pains, there are aches, aches, I think once a week, it's legitimate to have those things. It means that because you're pushing, right, the limit. But other than that, every other day is about that slow bit of progress, at one additional rep, that 3 additional reps, just to get that in, and eventually it makes you stronger and stronger and stronger. Yeah, it's the small little incrementals, right, that are getting there. I mean, it's
Even,
just so wonderful to hear that.
Correct. Even as simple as like, you know the term people always, the bros always like to use, I'm making gains today.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and make gains today. Today is all the day about making gains and stuff. To me, the term gains can be as simple as like, I can't get that depth when I do my squat. And then after months and months, and you finally hit that depth where your butt is really all the way down and you feel good, and that to me is gain. Yeah, even if like the weight you were using, I was just holding a 20 kg kettlebell. Dude, you just did a perfect looking squat. That is gains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. And when you said only 20, you
Yeah.
know, I'm like, wow, okay.
No, I'm just giving an example.
Yeah,
Just
man.
giving an example.
Like, dude, I started off with an 8, man. Shit.
There you
Okay,
go.
but yeah, I'll get there. I'll get there. I promise you, I'll get there. 20 kilo kettlebell just came in the door today.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So okay, I'll get there. I'll get there. Anyway,
Awesome.
so you know, thanks so much for spending over an hour with us, you know, and
All good,
sharing
man. All
so
good.
much in terms of the ideas of what you have. And it's great to know that, you know, the kind of passion that comes through, again, wanting everybody to just stay fit and healthy and lead a good life, a good long life, right? Through fitness, exercise, and good nutrition. And also, important thing is, information is everywhere, but having the right discernment of where you get this and process this so very, very important, you know.
That's right.
I know one last thing that we always do with every guest that we have on the show is a simple 10-question rapid fire session known as the
Okay.
EPIC questionnaire that we have now. For those who have actually watched the podcast, you pretty much know all these questions already. So let's get straight to it. All right, Shrek. So here is question number 1. Let's go. One word that you love the most.
Humility.
One word that you dislike the most.
What if?
Oh, that counts. If you could have a conversation with one person, fictional, non-fictional, dead or alive, who would that be?
Actually, this is good. Only recently I actually started reading. This is actually based on my Prophet Muhammad. Peace be upon him. Yeah.
All right. And what do you say to yourself in the mirror every morning?
I actually don't do that, but if I ever stand in front of a mirror, I will say it's like, all right, it's time to get through the day and just do your best.
Name one superpower that you'd like to have.
Superpower, strength, like
What, super
extreme strength. Yeah, super strength.
Okay. All right. Favorite dish to eat?
Burrito.
Oh, sweet. Favorite travel spot or the next travel spot once the borders open up?
Bali.
Bali.
Yeah, because I miss
Man.
surfing, man.
Oh. Something in the arts that you've always wanted to do but yet to do so.
Okay, this one may come a bit as a surprise to many. Dance. To be specific, break dance.
Breakdance.
Yeah,
Okay,
break dance.
cool.
Because I mean, you see me doing weird movements and stuff, right? Yeah, it's somehow linked to that, but I never have the courage to do all those things that all these break dancers do. But to be honest, I have so much respect for them, which is why that is one thing I want to do.
Yeah, some of the best jiu-jitsu players all started from there, right?
Yeah.
All right. What does retirement look like to you?
Retirement. I mean, in a perfect world would be wake up every morning, go surfing, in the afternoon go to the gym, and then in the evening getting a massage. But that's a perfect world that never exists for me. It only exists when I actually go to Bali. That kind of routine actually exists for me. But honestly, for me, retirement would be just me spending the last few days of my best life with my wife. That's it.
That's wonderful. And how do you want to be remembered? What's your legacy?
I don't think I need any form of legacy, but if I want to be remembered, I want to be remembered as the guy who has already did his very best to share his knowledge and trying to change the fitness industry. That's all. I mean, that's a bit, to me, honestly, I think that's a bit much to ask for, but I would like to be known as that guy who just basically teach people the basic things and look at the fitness or training as something a lot simpler as opposed to whatever people have right now.
Wow, that's super awesome, man. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, that marks the end of today's epic podcast. And of course, you're with me and the very, very humble and extremely passionate Coach Shrek of Ritual. So now, as always, you know, a simple request for this little podcast that you're listening to, please continue to support us, like, comment, and subscribe. And also head over to ritualgym.com to check out what they have over at the Ritual Gym. And not to forget, for free training videos, all right, follow Shrek of Ritual over on Instagram. He's on Facebook, he's on Twitter,
just a
and all that.
disclaimer. Sorry, just a disclaimer. If those of you guys gonna follow my workout on my Instagram, please scale yourself. Yeah, don't follow exactly what I do. I mean, do whatever that is good for you.
He said scale yourself, not kill yourself. Okay, so please, for goodness sakes, this guy carries huge ass kettlebells. Don't be that guy. All right, I know we talked about like not overtraining, so please follow suit. Don't do anything silly that is going to hurt yourself. If you're doing this knees over toes things, start slow. Don't use any weights. Okay, don't be a fool. All right, do your best every day, and that's Shrek over there. And of course, there's me, Edric. So thanks so much for joining us in this week's episode of the podcast, and we are out. Peace.
Take care.